Inside New Orleans Sports with Eric Asher is underwritten by
TikTok Cafe, located on Causeway South at the I-10 in Metairie, is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Our menu offers breakfast dishes like our Western omelet made from scratch biscuits, grits, egg sunny side up, and lunch specials like our homemade cheeseburgers with a side of golden brown fries. Don't forget about our weekday lunch special and that every Tuesday is steak night. TikTok Cafe, open 24/7 at Causeway South at the I-10 in Metairie.
At Villeries Florist, we deliver the magic of flowers 7 days a week to the North Shore and South Shore in the New Orleans area. Whether it's for birthday parties, baby celebrations, Villeries provides colorful floral displays for all. With a store full of fresh-cut flowers, exotic tropical flowers, orchids, roses, and even fruit baskets, our goal is to make your vision a reality. Villeries Florist, proudly serving Louisiana since 1969. Mr. Ed's Oyster Bar and Fish House has been shucking here since 1979. Located at 3117 21st Street in Metairie, Mr. Ed's Oyster Bar and Fish House offers raw, fried, and grilled oysters, as well as a range of Cajun and Creole dishes. Enjoy a dozen with a smile.
Good evening, New Orleans, and welcome to another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Over the next hour, we'll talk a lot about the home team, the Saints, LSU, Tulane, Pelicans. We'll run the gamut, maybe even toss a little bit of recruiting in there as well. Got a great panel for you tonight. Gus Kattengell of 100.3 FM here in New Orleans, ESPN affiliate, and also Garland Gillen of Fox 8 Sports. Gentlemen, thanks for coming down. Always appreciate it. I'd like to start off letting the folks know a little bit about what you guys are involved in. Gus, take it away.
Yeah, well, daily on at 1 to 3, and always lots to talk about, obviously, around this time of the season here as well. And then on Thursday nights, John Forcade and myself do a show called Game Time that's simulcasted here in New Orleans and in Baton Rouge. We do that from 6 to 8, various locations across the city. And on Sunday this year, we started a post-game show live at Buffalo Wild Wings. So when the Saints wrap up, we go right on and start taking your opinions and everything. It's been fun. A lot of fun, especially since it's been a pretty good season.
Yeah, it's always nice when the teams are winning. Also, still involved with Tulane on the sideline and women's voice.
Play-by-play, so definitely busy right now.
Beautiful. Garland, welcome back. Thanks again for joining us. Tell folks a little bit about, which I've said all along, I'm hyping it constantly. The check's in the mail, I'm sure. all the great programming over at Fox 8. I mean, I DVR all of it. If you're a sports fan in this town, you've got to check it out.
Yeah, 3 hours a week of local programming by us. You start your money off with Jim Henderson's Black and Gold review. Thursday night's game plan. Friday night, we just ended Fox 8 Football Friday, another fantastic season of that. Sunday tailgate from 10 to 11, then we wrap it all up on the final play on Sunday night. It's been a great year. It's a lot easier to do the show when the Saints are winning. The takes are better. Though sometimes the emails get pretty juicy when the Saints are struggling. But it's been a great season to cover LSU, Tulane, the Saints, and we still got a lot of time going ahead with some playoffs possibly in the future.
Yeah, and of course the Pelicans are really kind of in their infant stage of their season, and probably the most unique blog that we have here in the city. Talk about your blog.
Yeah, football food. I focus on football. I do a little soccer because I get some negative kickback there because I get too into it. So I keep it to like 2 paragraphs, and then I focus on any kind of food. Not more of a restaurant critic, but I point out some things. I'll make some restaurant references, and people tell me to try some place out. I'll check it out, review it there. I don't always give the greatest. If it's good, you're going to know about it. If it's bad, I'll also let you know.
Take questions because I need to ask you. Do I go with a Dortmund Pulisic jersey, or do I go with a USA jersey for baby Carter?
No, I put my USA jersey in the closet. It's not coming out again.
Dortmund for his first jersey.
Yes, you're going for that jersey. USA jersey went in the closet for like 4 more years.
And of course, the Final Play app, you get everything on it.
Yes. We update it nonstop. Injury reports every day from the Saints are on there. Ton of Jim Henderson, Black and Gold talk, his commentary. It's all there on the Final Play app and Fox 8 app.
Let's get started, guys. Atlanta 20, Saints 17. Saints now 9-4. Worst, and I don't think I'm overstating this. Worst officiated game I've ever seen that the Saints have been involved in, and I've been watching these guys since they opened it up in '67. Of course, a lot of controversy with Phil McKinney, the ex-Falcon offensive lineman who was somehow put on that crew. That's not the regular crew. Of course, it was broke also this week. Mike Cirillo, former Saints employee, supposedly the whistleblower on the Bounty Gate situation, now director of football operations for the NFL. We'll get into that a little bit later. But the officiating really left a lot to be desired. I mean, one of the things that really stuck out was 11 penalties against the Saints. 9 of those turned into Falcons first downs. 4 penalties against the Falcons, right. And you saw many helmet-to-helmet hits. Just a lot. Just overall, I mean, it just for Saints fans. I mean, I don't think you're overlooking the fact that it didn't seem like it evened out like it normally does in an NFL game.
No, definitely, and I think one of the things, and probably when you go back and you look at the video of the highlights, especially from field level too, it's just. You can call a penalty on any play. It's when you choose to do so. And one of the things that you definitely look at, obviously, when you look at that game is, yes, I mean, you did see some plays that Kerry Robertson did tackle the running back. You know, Ken Crawley did grab the jersey. Mm-hmm. Now, you can call it or you cannot. The Saints defense has been aggressive all season. We saw in training camp that they were teaching that to be aggressive and do that. So you just kind of wonder if a week before when Ron Rivera on Thursday came out and said, hey, you know, the Saints we're going to remind officials that they snapped the ball before this set. You just wonder if maybe the division teams, you know, are kind of maybe talking to officials or something. Bottom line, though, is when you get that sense and feel, it was the worst case scenario that happened. You had bodies dropping like flies, calls not going your way, and there were big calls, as you said, 9 for first downs. I've never seen anything like that. And then you have the whole appearance of things. Garland, my take that I saw that I really enjoyed more than anything else, though, is I saw Sean Payton almost go Coach O after Alabama. I saw Sean Payton step up for his players. He's going to get fined. He's going to get the check, whatever it is. But he kept it in the news for 3-4 days. You know, tweeting, unbelievable that Cirillo got hired. He got hired a while back. It wasn't like he got hired over the weekend. But he made it seem, and he reinvigorated, I think, a locker room that, let's be honest, they're banged up. You have 3 games left. The fan base is juiced. All he did, though, was now when he walks in that locker room, players go, that guy stood up for me. Yeah, because they felt like they were getting hosed. So he went out and did it. The fans now know he's behind it. And it reminded me of after Alabama going, we're coming.
Yeah, and the Kamara concussion really hurt the team. I think if Kamara was in that game, they'd have won it. Yeah. That was a brutal situation for the Saints. They almost still won it. I mean, 3 turnovers. I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to win out. Yes. I'm just looking at it. They should have won the game last Thursday. The Jets are coming to town with Bryce Petty as the starting quarterback. And then when they play the Bucs on the final week, I mean, the guys on the Bucs, it's a Sunday game. I guarantee the entire team has flights out at like noon on Monday to the beach. Right. The bags are packed. Their girlfriends, they pack the bags, and they're ready to roll. So they're going to be completely tuned out on that game. So I just think they can recover. It was a tough loss, but everything is still in front of them. Drew Brees said that they can only control what's in front of them. And right now, you know, so many times in the past, these last 3 seasons, we talk about if this team loses, they can get in the playoffs. No, just win out. You're in the playoffs. You might be a 3 or 4 seed. You're going to probably host a playoff game. Just take care of your own business.
You know, guys, when you look at and one of the narratives this week was Thursday Night Football, and you know, the NFL gives you lip service on player safety. You know, 9 players, was it 9 to 11 players injured in that game, and a lot of guys that came back maybe a little bit early with the soft tissue injuries to try to come back and play against the Falcons. In some cases, again, those guys didn't last. You mentioned the helmet on Kamara, helmet to helmet on Senio Clemente, both guys out. We already knew, again, Pete was out with a groin injury. You know, one of the big questions going forward is, again, what do you do for the Jets? Do you save these players now for Atlanta and Tampa? Atlanta being the game that you really got to point to, and you know, with the problems the Jets are having right now, I would think that you could beat them. And I think that this is a real big decision going forward. But that was a physical game, and I think that they're trying to ring the bell on, you know, maybe some changes to Thursday Night Football. They're not going away with it because, it makes too much money, but maybe some bye weeks before for every team that plays. Some things have got to change here.
I've seen a lot of people say that, and I find it interesting because ESPN in the morning now, it's Trey Wingo and my goalie. He comes out, and I played the soundbite of him on Monday saying there are no studies that it's any more serious or severe. And I'm like, well, y'all do pay for NFL coverage. I thought Drew Brees after the game was as blunt as you can be. Again, I'm probably – Golick didn't play Thursdays. And I'm probably going to go with the guy with Drew Brees. I don't think he's lying to me. And I think we see it in the locker room. I mean, I've talked about this all the time. Remember when the Pels first got here, there were the Hornets, and David Wesley was a great little, broadcaster now. But I remember in November, he's feeding ice buckets. I'm like, it's November. The season ends in May or April, hopefully, if you're in the playoffs. It's just – you do go through wear and tear, and it's just normal. We see it, how they are on Mondays, and you expect them to go back on a Thursday. You can't say it doesn't affect it. The gameplay looks different. I would have loved that game with the intensity it was and everything else if it was a Sunday. That's just reality of it. So what I saw this week was something, Garland, that I like. Make it 2 bye weeks during the season, and you have a bye week leading into that Thursday night game, and then you can kind of deal with it because you have the 10 days until the next Sunday.
But the biggest number with Thursday night games is $500 million. That's how much the league is getting paid for that Thursday contract. That's the thing. I don't think that's going to change. They're going to keep those Thursday night games. They're really popular. They're getting good numbers for them. They're putting it online on Amazon. Yahoo Sports is broadcasting. It's on NFL Network. It's on either ABC or CBS or NBC. So I think it's there to stay until the next CBA, which is in 2023. So maybe something will change then. I don't see them stopping anything right now. But Breeze is right. It's just Thursday night games. They're brutal for the players. I will say the only positive is if you look at the injury report this week, the only people out right now are Andres Pete and AJ Klein. All those guys that got hurt last week, a lot of them are back this week. So at least they got that extra time to get up.
Now, I'll put you in Coach Payton's place right now. Do you play these guys knowing that they can re-injure themselves? And, you got a big division game coming up. And then, of course, you mentioned Tampa. I mean, to me, I'm almost like I'm going to be very, very cautious on playing guys, especially with soft tissue injuries in this upcoming game against the Jets.
And Senio Calamete is like the Swiss Army knife of the offensive line. He can play anywhere on the line. He's back at practice after a concussion last week. So maybe you keep Andres Pete out another week, hold him to the Falcons game. They should smoke the Jets. This is totally. This is like when you're playing the Bucs or something like that at home. You should win this game. They're double-digit favorites. Maybe you do hold them out there. AJ Klein, you're going to need for the playoffs there.
Absolutely.
Michael Marty, he's not great.
Right, but they played well last week, Teo and Marty.
Yeah. Play him again. Let Klein get back to 100%. You could make a good point. The Falcons game is still a week and a half away.
Right, Goose. I mean, it looked like a rerun of the old MASH. It was a MASH unit with that blue tent. People lining up to get in the tent. That's got to signal something to the NFL. And what do you think? I mean, should they hold some of these players out, or do they really need them to be able to beat the Jets on Sunday?
It's an interesting sort of discussion because I'm with you, right? It's a 15-point favorite right now going into it, which is a ton in the NFL. The thing is, it's almost a mindset, right? Games like this can be tricky and trap games if you don't approach it the right way. I've almost looked at it, Garland. Do you kind of approach it as one of those big schools, LSU, Troy, where you go in there and you whoop the tail, halftime, and then you kind of sit up. Let's go in there, take care of business, put this game away, and then we can taper it and sit people off. Do you go that way? Or do you go what we're talking about right now? Because I would. And it's not that you're putting any more importance than any, because at the end of the day, Pels Kings on Friday. I mean, anybody can win on a given day. And that's what concerns me, because what absolutely cannot happen is a loss on Sunday. It can't happen. You can't make Sunday at Tampa, when everyone's packed ready to go, a meaningful game. You can't make that a meaningful game. And that's my only concern is, here's a QB. No one kind of knows anything about him. For some strange reason, the Saints defense seems to make these quarterbacks like Hundley or RG3 just history. Maybe they do well. Johnny Morton, being the offensive coordinator for the Jets.
That's a real good point.
He probably knows what the Saints formations are, the Saints tells, the Saints run protections, where receivers are going. And when you add the injury, that 15-point game all of a sudden maybe becomes a touchdown and a field goal. And then if there's a mistake and we're putting in a guy and you're not mentally prepared, I'm with you. It should be a blowout. It should be a win. I think I like what I saw today is, hey, only these two guys are ready or not going. you approach it like you're going to all hands on deck, because to me, while it's the team you should beat, you can't lose this game.
Right. Henderson out 3 to 4 weeks now with the ankle. They signed George Johnson, not of the Brothers Johnson music group, but George Johnson comes in. I keep asking the question, what about Muhammad? Why are they not giving him an opportunity? You're going to bring a guy off the street who's been out there all season long, and you're going to ask him to come in and maybe play some spot duty for you. I mean, are they being that cautious with Muhammad at this point? They can't put him out there and say, quarterback's right there, go after him.
And wait, Onyemata last year was kind of a project.
Yeah, that's right.
And now he's blossomed.
Sure.
So you make a great point, Eric. Maybe they're going to keep Muhammad on the sideline. He's been a healthy, inactive,
yes,
numerous games this year.
They protected him from the practice squad. They thought that some other team would pick him off.
He's a 6th-round pick, so you didn't expect that much of him.
But he showed flashes against the second and third teams in the preseason.
Yeah, you pointed it out. I think that they're going to probably save him. Maybe he's a next year project, because Onyemata is doing very well this year, and he did not see a lot of playing time. I'll say this: the Jets game with Ingram and Kamara and a host of receivers, everybody's healthy. I'm obviously not Fleener on the tight end side, but the receivers, running backs, even if you get into a score fest with this team, they don't have. Give me all the receiver names of the Jets. You can't name them, you can't just pop them off.
Right.
The Saints would drop 40 on this team no matter what.
Right. You know, guys, I asked this question last week, and I'll ask it to you guys. You know, Snead's back. He's in shape now. You got to believe at some point Breeze is going to start to look his way more. The receivers have not gotten a lot of separation. Ginn has been, even though again he is. To me, he's done a 180 from here in New Orleans to the rest of his career. No, he's catching balls over the middle. He's catching balls getting hit. He can get deep, even though they haven't made a lot of connections in terms of that. Because they have not gotten a lot of separation, and they've been bracketing Thomas like they have, I think there's a possibility that maybe they use Ginn now more as maybe a deep threat a la Devery Henderson and Robert Meacham, and maybe start to use Snead more in those underneath routes?
I think one of the most disappointing aspects this season has been the middle of the field / tight end position, if that makes any sense to you. I know Fleener's now out with concussion, but even when he was healthy, I mean, Garland, it's a lot to be desired from that position. There's a lot of money tied in the tight end position. Now you can say, well, they're blocking well, so the run game sort of picked up, but that's why I think Willie Snead's really been missed, and it's been a puzzle as to why Sean Payton hasn't used him. I mean, come on, his injuries lingered since the Dolphins game in London. He told us the week before he was ready to go. So I just think it's interesting from that perspective, whether it's the contract situation they offered it, he didn't like it, so they waited a bit. Is it the DUI? I don't know what it is, but he was known and became a player that could maybe want a bigger deal because he was Mr. Third Down. He was important. He got big plays, got open, ran good routes. We were comparing him to Lance Moore. I don't know how you go from that to what we saw even last week when they would dump it to him. He couldn't get away from anyone. So maybe he's not healthy. I don't know. But you need something in that middle there that opens up the running backs. And more than anything, Garland, it is going to help over the middle because that safety right now, there's no incentive for him to keep looking over the middle right now. The linebacker's got him or the corner has him simply because he's not going.
This season's almost been a wash for Snead because he's out the first 3 games. We finally think we're going to see him in London, and he's on the other field. We're all at practice in London, and we're like, he's on the other field having hamstring issues. This is just not his year. And I will say this, it'll benefit the Saints in the future. No one else is going to want him in the offseason. The Saints are going to pick him back up for the minimum. This offseason, what he did just killed him in the pocket. He could have got a big contract after this season. He's going to get nothing going forward there. He's got to pick it up because Michael Thomas is killing her right now. The Sean Payton conference calls, Drew Brees, that's all they talked about was Michael Thomas and what he's doing for this team right now. And Ted Ginn, punt returns, kick returns, he's a big addition to the team.
He really is. And look, Kamara's done a lot of what we expected, some of the receivers to do. He's almost been another receiver on the field. It was kind of disheartening that he got the injury early in the Atlanta game because that was probably the game that was going to be the breakout game for him, so to speak, where they're going to really use him, especially with the toe injury to Ingram. And, of course, we saw how that went. And, with a short week like that on a Thursday and putting a game plan in where you're trying to condense everything in just a few days, you almost got to throw the game plan out at that point if you're going to be focusing on one player, like it looked like Peyton was going to do that.
Eric, it felt like that. dude.
It did.
I mean, it felt like that. And there's been some games, it's interesting. I don't know. I love your take on this. After the Buffalo game, it's almost felt like Sean's either tried to outthink the room sometimes or I don't know. I mean, you do a lot of study on final play and stuff, and you talk to Jim, and you all look at certain plays, but it's almost seemed like in the Washington game where they don't try to run. I mean, Atlanta came back down 17-10, trusting what I continue to think is the reason they win. It's their two backs. It's Freeman and Coleman, and they just pounded a hurt Saints defense. The Saints got 3 turnovers and got 7 points out of it, luckily, because it was in the red zone. And Tommy Lee Lewis made a great play. But 2 others came in the red zone, 1 in the end zone. Atlanta could have had more points.
Right.
So I'm just looking at the offense did nothing in that game. And if Kamara gets hurt, I just asked the silly question maybe, well, what if you don't draft him? I mean, you got to have something more.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't know if it was the short week or not. I mean, Edmonds wasn't used. I just run the football. This is what's been good for the Saints this year. And I just really honestly felt since Buffalo, I can't recall a game where I go, there's the run game.
It's a great 1-2, and you saw what could happen without Alvin Kamara on their offense. I think with those 2 guys going forward, I just think that there's going to be these last 3 games they're going to blow through them, and in the playoffs it's all out there. Carson Wentz is out for the season now. You know, you got almost like a get jail out of free card for the Saints, because who are you really worried about in the playoffs? I mean, seriously.
Right.
Now. I mean, Case Keenum, the Vikings, it's dangerous to go up there. They lost to him the first time, but the first time they also had Cook. He was out for the year, tore his ACL, the running back. Right. Well, you're going to go to L.A.? I mean, you're not really afraid to go out there. The Eagles went out there with the quarterback tore his ACL. They still won that game. Saints are the 4-seed right now. Those are the teams in front of them. Behind them, Carolina, Atlanta, they can beat I think right now they can beat anybody in the NFC.
I agree with that.
AFC against the Steelers and Patriots, we'll see if they get there.
Well,
okay?
and again, it went, and a lot of people were debating over, who you should pull for last week, this week going forward. They got the tiebreaker over Carolina. I was hoping Carolina would beat Minnesota, and it happened. When Wentz goes out, I think it opens up everything now. Everybody's saying, well, they can't get to the first seed. No, they can get to the first seed if they continue to win. And considering what's on the rest of those schedules for those other teams, there's a possibility they may fall back to the pack.
I'll say one thing. I've never seen a season where you're 1 win away from a 1 or 2, and you're 1 loss away from a wild card.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it almost helps keep you focused, because, guys, they go 1 and 2. I don't know if you're in the playoffs, and you had a season where you won 8 straight. I mean, just think about that. If Atlanta and Carolina, the Packers, the Seahawks, they went out, I mean, you're on the outside looking in. That's what I'm saying. You don't want to make that Tampa Bay game anything more important than you have to. And the thing that really stands out to me is, I'm with you, Minnesota, I look back at that game, in the first drive, rookies and young mistakes and just silly penalties hurt you, right? The holding call kept you from a touchdown, you settled for a field goal. The very next possession on defense, 2 15-yard penalties gave Minnesota 3 points, kind of changed momentum of that game. You got killed by slants and crossing routes. I thought you'd seen what Minnesota can do best. You felt like you were running uphill, and Sean Payton didn't know what he was doing on offense on game plan. With Peters, he just didn't get it. So I'd love to see a rematch on that team again.
I think it might happen.
Exactly. The Rams, did you feel like you saw the Saints' best effort? I was waiting for something to kind of get going, so I'm with you. And the way it sits, you might host L.A. So, I mean, I think it's important, though, to me, for this team to get that first round bye. If you can get that first round bye, man, it's just...
And the scheduling gods are just on the Saints side right now. The Panthers now have to face Aaron Rodgers after the Saints avoided him. There's a lot of moving pieces around the Saints there with other teams this week. I mean, the Eagles play the Giants this week. Right. I mean, Eli's still the quarterback. Right. They could pull the rabbit out of the hat. Nick Foles is the starting quarterback. Eagles could lose again. You know what? The Seahawks play the Rams this week.
Right.
Whew, it's gonna be a great day on Sunday to sit in front of your sofa, because there's going to be a lot of fireworks that day. It's going to be really fun.
I'll throw in the Minnesota deal, the Adrian Peterson factor too, as well.
That's what I'm saying.
They were fired up. I mean, they were literally fired up to be able to play Adrian Peterson as well. Guys, I want to take you back to the last drive of the Saints against Atlanta. A lot of controversy over whether they should have run the football. The pass, obviously, that even Breeza said he shouldn't have thrown that pass. If you go back and look at the film, no one is open. Once again, no separation from the wide receivers. Your thoughts?
We spoke about it this week on the show, an interesting aspect of it, that I'm still waiting for that game where I go, there's Drew. This is Drew of old. And I don't know how much it's been, you see the white sleeve on his, on his elbow. Does he have tendonitis? I see a lot of wounded ducks this season. By no means am I casting in and say it's over, but I've seen a lot of short throws. I've seen a lot of decisions where you just go, what do you want? Really? It's just, I don't know.
It's hard to talk about that in the city because some people say
I
blasphemy,
hear you.
right?
Look, I don't know what he was looking at. I mean, he wasn't open from Hutt. And when you take a look at Debo, I mean, he's staring at him. He's bracketed. He's sideways, waiting for him to come. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's got Josh Hill the entire time. I guess my thing more than anything is I've been saying this all season long, all season going into it. Sean Payton, I know their philosophy. Spread it around. You hear Drew say it. He probably said it today. Any given Sunday, anybody can have a stop it. Look at Pittsburgh. You have Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. 2 weeks ago, going into games, they had 2,500 yards from scrimmage. In the future, moving forward, Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas need to be like Bell and Antonio Brown. When you're in the red zone stuff, does Atlanta even think about that? No. They're looking at Julio first. Throw it to him. My guy against your guy, 1 down. Out of the 3 or 4 downs, 1 down, my best guy against your best guy. Give it to him. Give it to Michael Thomas. On 3rd downs, we talked about this. Their 3rd down deficiencies this year. Even in red zones where they settle for field goals, throw it to Michael Thomas. Let him see what he can do. I think he's that good. He's going to be like Odell Beckham, right? 90 receptions, only 2 players in NFL history, and he will get to 1,000 yards. I think he gets 100 receptions. Give it to him. Throw him the ball. It's inexcusable that it's been that many weeks last week that he finally got a touchdown pass. Throw it to him, go in that direction. And I guess that's, when I look at that final possession, that final series, I just go to your playmaker. He needs to be this team's playmaker. Go to it.
I didn't mind them going for the kill shot there because the injuries.
Absolutely.
I had no problem with them going for the win. The field goal, no.
I don't have a problem with the win.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a problem with the play.
It's a bad decision.
I got a problem with the play.
It's a bad decision. Breeze was just going for it all.
Right.
Triple coverage he threw into?
It was
4.
4. It wasn't a good decision. At least
I don't know how you didn't see that, because they even showed the end zone shot.
Right, no, from
where,
the end
where
zone
you could
at
see.
Hutt, there's nowhere.
There's nobody open at that point. Throw it away. You still got 2 downs if you need to.
Yeah, I definitely. That was a bad decision, but I definitely have no problem with them going for it because, they had 8 guys out at one point?
Oh, no, there's no doubt. And look, some people, I said it on Monday. I said it on Friday, telling me they had back. It's hard to get on Breeze because he's done it so many times. He's the guy that moved you down the field to get in that position. But again, you'd like to have that one back.
That tight shot of him on the sidelines right after that, right before Peyton gets, the flag, man, it tugged at you because you felt it. You know it eats him up. Yeah. That guy hasn't slept. Of course. because that's not what he does. Well, and he's going over in his head. And it's just, you could just see it, the look on his face. If there was a face that told you how, it's got to be disappointing, And it just, look, I'll say this. We were talking about the teams that you're going to be facing. I'll take him. I'll take him. There's no doubt about it. I'll take him coming into the playoffs.
Look, again, one of the best things about this season is that you don't have to worry about the possibility of him moving on. He's going to probably finish his career here in New Orleans now because of the young talent they have on this team. All right, guys, Saints-Jets this weekend, thoughts?
I'm like with Garland. I think everything smells, looks, tastes like a victory and a W, and it should be, and will be at the end of the day. 15 points is a lot. I just think with the injuries, you never know how it goes. I think the Saints try to go out there and do like a college team, taking on a team that, you brought on over for a beating. Try to get rid of this game. It would behoove the Saints. Get rid of this game by halftime. And then you put in Chase Daniel time by 3rd or 4th quarter would be great. I'd love to see that. Just, maybe that's how I call it, the Chase Daniel game. I want to see Chase Daniel. That's how much of a beating I want.
The awful Broncos smashed this team last week.
Oh, no.
So
Denver hadn't scored.
Yeah, I don't think any different this coming week. I think they win by 2 touchdowns. The most bizarre stat of the year, and if you follow me on Twitter, I post it every week. The Saints are on Fox 8 are 9-0 this year.
Really?
There you go.
On Fox 8, 9-0. On the other networks, 0-4.
Yeah.
This game is on CBS this week.
Uh-oh.
They got to win this because they lost the opener on ESPN. The second week 2 was on NBC. They lost another game on CBS, the Rams game, and they lost last week on NBC NFL Network. So they're 0-4. This is the week I don't want to tweet that they're 0 for another network. So
They're
they got to
killing
win.
me on that one.
At least and also fans point out that all the way up to the Super Bowl is on Fox after this week. So unless they do some scheduling, but the Saints are undefeated on Fox 8. So don't blame it on us.
Final question quickly, if we can, because we've got to go to break. NFC South champs or not?
Yes.
Oh, NFC chat, no doubt. The Panthers might lose this week to the Packers. Falcons are going to lose the Saints next week.
Sounds good. Guys, hang in there. Garland, Gillen of Fox 8 Sports, Gus Kattengell of ESPN 100.3 FM here in New Orleans are our guest. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Be right back.
Air conditioning, heating, and refrigeration has been family owned and operated since 1989. Burkhardt has energy-efficient solutions and offers brands such as Mitsubishi ductless AC units and Amana, the only manufacturer with a lifetime unit replacement warranty. Burkhardt's offers maintenance bundle packages that include servicing your AC, generator, and tankless water heater. For more information on the services Burkhardt's provides, visit acpromise.com. Burkhardt's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration, providing comfort for life.
Located at 3701 Iberville Street in Mid-City is Katie's Restaurant and Bar. Open 7 days a week, Katie's offers daily specials for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Serving New Orleans cuisine such as fried shrimp platters, grilled redfish, and a fully stocked bar. And don't forget about our expanded event seating and local entertainment. Featured on the Best of Food Network's diners, drive-ins, and dives, Katie's Restaurant and Bar. Amco Fence, locally owned and operated since 1976. Fully licensed and insured and a member of the BBB, Amco serves both residential and commercial customers. If you're looking to repair, replace, or install a fence for security or aesthetic reasons, Amco Fence supplies wooden, metal, chain link, vinyl, and ornamental or automatic gates. Amco aims to satisfy your fencing needs. Amco Fence, 504-468-9559 or amcofencecompany.com.
Welcome back to Inside New Orleans Sports. Garland Gillen of Fox 8 Sports, Gus Kattengell of ESPN 100.3 FM are our guest. All right, guys, let's shift to the Pelicans. We'll get to LSU and Tulane before the show is over. We were talking about in the break. This has got to be the most frustrating basketball team I've ever had to watch in my life. They've got talent enough to be able to be, maybe one of the top 5 teams in the West. They're not. They're not. They don't play basketball the right way. They turn the ball over too much. They don't play defense. They don't hit the offensive boards. I'm tired of seeing Boogie Cousins hang out at the three-point line or bowling ball his way down the lane. He's a guy that has a tremendous amount of talent. Rajon Rondo stands on the wing waiting for the basketball. When he finally gets the ball, he can do a triple-double for you. He's a guy that's moving the ball around. They don't look for even though they're second in the NBA in assist. I don't know by what measurement that is, because they don't give up good shots for great shots in a lot of cases. And again, when you've got 2 guys at the top 10 at their position, 2 big guys, and neither one of those guys are traditionally down low. It's mind-blowing. And then you get into, again, the coaching aspect of this. Are they listening to Gentry? Are they listening to Ehrman? Are they listening to Finch? It doesn't seem so at this point. Gus, I'll take you because I'm frustrated.
I don't know if y'all listen to me from 1 to 3,
because
I'm
right there with you.
That's kind of a running joke. I hold them to a high level of accountability, and I kind of wish that same level of accountability would be from there. And the problem is, again, we can go into why or whatever, but as long as they share that parking lot with where they are and the football team's winning, you almost get the sense and feel. Now, whether or not it's true or not, but perception can sometimes be reality, and fans feel that way. When fans call our show, they feel that Loomis or Benson's not worrying about this team or not understanding.
They're number 3 in the pecking order behind the racehorse stable.
Well, you're right. I mean, look, you're 7-7 at home. You've got to win more at home. And it's not anything other, Garland, than just effort and energy. They have the talent. Eric, they might be among one of the top 5 teams in the West, because when you look at the teams around them, they're teams that they're either losing to at home and have an opportunity to, like Minnesota and stuff. They're in there. They're right there. Mm-hmm. Now, look, there's Golden State and there's Houston and New Orleans and stuff, but they're absolutely in the middle of the pack talent-wise.
Yes.
When you watch what you saw on Monday, I get hot under the collar when I think of what I saw on Friday. You talking about the assists and leading or being second in the league and do that? They are. Second in the league in player efficiency or efficiency and field goal percentage. It's basketball IQ. It's the timing of the game when they stop passing the basketball. They're up 10-12, Garland. Let's jack up threes instead of doing that. When the Rockets were down on Monday, what did CP Me do? He kept attacking the lane, and he kept getting shots off the glass, shots off the glass. The lead starts going down. It's high percentage. It's immediate. They get fouled. It's and one. On the other end, they're launching threes and missing. It's just not smart basketball. Run clock. That's fine if you want to get the lead out there like you did. It's fourth quarter. It's 5. It's 4. It's 3 minutes to go. Salt the game away. Do things that help you do it instead of just running down there and jacking up possessions. It's games like that it's hard to understand.
It's a sinking feeling watching the Pelicans games because they're doing so well against the Rockets, and you're just like,
Golden State, you're up 3 times against them.
I remember I was at the Golden State game, and they're up 20 at half. You get the feeling, man. You just know it's good. You know it's coming. And I had the feeling against the Warriors, and they blew it. They wound up losing a 30-point differential in the second half. In the Rockets game, I'm like, oh, this is unreal. I mean, they broke a record for three-pointers by franchise. You just knew that they were gonna give it up in the third and fourth quarter, and sure enough they did.
They don't play defense.
They don't. They way too many wide open shots. They will never beat. Okay, I'm not gonna say never, but it's gonna. Out of playing Golden State 30 times in a row, they might win one time. That team. Oh, I know they're the best team they're not the best team. The Rockets have the better record right now, but. These are the teams you're going to have to face numerous times. The Pelicans are lucking out that the Grizzlies are a total mess right now. The Mavericks are a total mess. So at least you're going to get some more victories out of those guys. I still think they'll be the 8th seed. I still think they're going to make the playoffs. Now, it might be a quick exit,
right?
But at least they make the playoffs. But yes, there's a ton more different.
They should make the playoffs, though.
I know. With that roster, and you pointed out in the break, Solo Hill's not even back yet. They're finally figuring out who they are. They're just not who they are on defense yet.
Well, the supporting cast is working right now. You can't say, when you look down that roster right now, the guys are not contributing. You're worried about the offense early in the season. These guys are shooting the basketball. The Achilles heel are the things that take effort and energy.
And those are things that you can correct.
Right. Defense, offensive rebound.
Here's the thing. I think we all know and could understand if the other team just makes more buckets, man, some nights in basketball, the shots just aren't going to go down and stuff. And I keep referring to this on our show, and I go to it not just because he was arguably the greatest or among the greatest for sure. But Michael Jordan said, on nights that the shot didn't go down, I need to go do other things. So you amp up your defense to try to get transition buckets, right? If I steal the ball from you, that's a layup or dunk. If my shot's not going in, I'm going to drive on you. I can get free throws, and I can knock those down. Again, basketball IQ, it's understanding those things. If they go through a stretch, or reference the Golden State game, you have to know they're coming out in the third and they're going to press you, get steals, and Golden State goes as transition defense into offense goes. They will take your miss, haul tail up the court, and launch a three. Press, steal the inbound, launch a three. Next thing you know, there's a 6-point, they can do it. So the last thing you need to do is go up the court quickly and launch a shot with 21 seconds left on the shot clock. Those are things that I don't get and I don't understand. But the good aspects of it is AD and Boogie can play together. AD or Boogie can lead the team. Yes. Drew Holiday is now showing you that he can play the two, but you've got to have a point guard that can control the game. Absolutely. That's what Rondo needs to do. It's just understanding and accountability. I liked at least hearing Alvin Gentry on Friday walk off and be like, you just have to do it, you know? Because the team that I point to the most that I would love to see, it's a mixture of old school basketball, Garland, with new school. Man, I would offer 10 mil. I don't care. I want Brad Stevens. I love what he's done with Boston. Before Kyrie's got it, think of the new faces that he's had the last several years and adding a big piece like that, and it's been seamless, the transition.
And losing
They
Hayward.
play defense. They play team basketball. They listen. It's just basketball IQ. After that Kings game, I think the Celtics game was on, and I'm sitting there going, Celtics and Spurs was on. And I'm like, turn ESPN on right now. That was high-level basketball. Ginobili and all that. That was high-level basketball. The passing, the defense rotations. It looked like a school of fish. Everyone's going around the arc. I'm like, why? Popovich and Stevens, coaches.
Yes.
And those teams listen.
Well, look, I'm going to say right now, the upper echelon teams in the NBA, it's like a cat with a ball of yarn because all they're doing is toying with the Pelicans until they get to the second half, the fourth quarter, because they know they can make a run because they're not playing defense. And to your point about the coaches, I've talked about it all week. I've talked about it in the past. Gentry is an assistant coach by nature. Assistant coaches are the buffer between the team and the head coach. And I know you can be a player's coach and be a friend, but at some point you got to be able to draw the line. You know, the other night you mentioned Friday's press conference. I get it. He walked off. He was frustrated. But yet he turns around against the Rockets and has built-in excuses for why Boogie Cousins is not getting down and taking Capella, who's standing under the rim shooting layups, okay? No, there's got to be a stronger voice. And if you're not going to get that voice from the coach, well, that means Davis has to step up and be a stronger voice in that locker room.
And Davis is like Mr. Glass. I just don't know when he's ever going to be healthy. It's just like you get one game and you're just watching the games and you're like, oh, God, please, not today, not today. And it happens too much. It's amazing. At least Boogie, I mean, is stronger. He doesn't, at least that's the one positive I can say about Boogie is that he doesn't get injured often.
He frustrates me because he could be so good. You know, so good.
It's funny you say that because it's something that I thought about over the weekend, and I started the show on Monday with. I said, look, don't get me wrong. I love him. I think New Orleans got so lucky to have Drew Brees lead your football team and Anthony Davis lead the basketball team. He doesn't get in trouble. He's a good dude. I mean, he'll talk to you. I mean, he got lucky. Let's be honest. In today's NBA, that guy is a good face of the NBA, much less your franchise. The next step he needs to take is Shaq in that story of, in a game, that he wasn't getting passes, went into the locker room and said, I'm going to beat your butt. Using more language, he goes, if you don't pass me the ball the next time, if you take one more shot, don't pass it to me. You would never see LeBron go 8 minutes without taking – Anthony Davis last week went through a stretch, he had 9 straight points, and then didn't touch the ball for 8 minutes. Didn't take a shot for 8 minutes.
But that's been traditional on this team.
Right. That can't happen.
Right.
But again, if the coach is not going to call a timeout and force the point guard to do it, that's where on the court, and that's something that Chris Paul brings to it. And you remember seeing it when he was with the Hornets and stuff. He was a coach on the floor. He would get in your face. He'd get in David West. They were best friends. He would get in your face. AD's next step has to be when a run is coming and that 22-point lead with the Warriors is now 12 and he hadn't touched the basketball and they're jacking up threes, he calls timeout or he gets in the face of somebody that jacked it up and said, pass me the ball, I'm going to punch you in the teeth.
You know what the problem is, though,
you got to have that.
The problem is the alpha male on that team is Boogie Cousins, and a lot of time he's the guy that's holding the ball. Well, I mean, that's the issue there with that. Guys, look, they're going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to change. They're going to have to do the little things that again, good basketball teams do. Or, again, all it is window dress at this point. You may get to the playoffs, but when you look at the long-term future of this team, you know, you got to question it because again, they got a lot. Look, it's proven now the surrounding cast is good enough to win. It's on Boogie Cousins and Anthony Davis to make this team a better team at this point. Thus far, it hasn't happened.
One other question, Eric.
Sure.
Do you think Boogie resigns in the offseason?
I do. I really do. I do because, again, I think the relationship between him and Anthony Davis, he's going to make more money here than he can make anywhere else. Obviously, you look at all, but I got to be honest with you. As much as I'd love to see it, there's a part of me that says, you know what? I kind of wish he wouldn't.
I like him there, though. It makes the games more. It makes the games way more interesting.
When he starts with the yapping with the officials and not.
I never understood that one.
You know, he wears me out. And I can imagine how he wears out his teammates at times.
This team sometimes wears me out on that, Garland. I mean, that's one thing that I wish they would stop doing. And it's you're not going to get the benefit of the call unless you do it. And what's crazy is the very next day after he had that technical that got him out early in the week, when they won that game on Wednesday leading to that Friday game, what did he do? He drove to the basket. I'm like, there's one way to get the whistle. Be aggressive. Again, Michael Jordan.
Right.
Be aggressive. He kept attacking and attacking and attacking. And then you had the Denver Nugget players doing this after a whistle. Why? Because he kept attacking and attacking. He had 40 points that game.
Right.
If he plays like that,
don't settle.
The Pelicans can't lose.
Right.
I said this going into the game Wednesday against the Bucks. Pels fans, watch Giannis, the Greek Freak. I want Anthony Davis's game to be the Greek Freak.
Amen.
Kevin Harlan said it on a LeBron dunk during a playoff game. Without regard for human life, just dunk on everybody. Attack the rim, be physical. Now, Giannis is stronger and bigger,
right?
But he's second in the NBA in scoring. He can't shoot very well. He's averaging 29 points, Garland, because of the free throw line or dunking on people.
Right.
And Anthony Davis is that athletic enough. No one can guard him and cover him. Attack the rim, man. Stop with these threes. It's annoying.
No, it is. It frustrates me because, again, and you're finally getting some good shooting from the surrounding cast here. You don't necessarily need Boogie and Anthony Davis stepping out and hitting threes. I don't mind the mid-range jumper for either one of them, but I'd like to see them in the post more. I think that's the frustrating thing about the Pelicans. Guys, let's shift gears. Again, we'll get to the collegiate game. Tulane ends their season with getting robbed at SMU, 5-7, 3-5 overall in the American Athletic. You're the sideline reporter. I mean, I get why Coach Willie Fritz took a week or so, 2 weeks or so before he talked about the game, because that's heartbreaking what happened to Tulane. Because one of the things we talked about on this show and on the radio show was no guarantee Tulane gets to a bowl game because if they go 6-6 because of, the Tulane just doesn't travel well. But in reading about this, they had a tie-in. They were going to a bowl game. They win at SMU.
No,
Talk about it.
They were assured before the game started, you win and you're in. It's that simple. Well, when I look at the 5-7 season, guys, I think of it from one standpoint. You didn't finish. And you go back to the 2009 Saints season, the T-shirts finished strong. It's got to be the theme going into 2018 for Tulane. It's heartbreaking because they had a lot of games this year where they could have won. They spotted teams a lot of points, and then they came back. You saw the passing game come alive against South Florida, against some other teams later, but just fall short. You had chances to beat some good teams this year. Navy, I mean, you can go, you probably left 4 or 5 games on the field. And what's going to be difficult is, and as we go now into the first recruiting period in December and going into February, this team's got to replenish a lot of huge names on defense. Look, we saw them miss Nico Marley, miss Tenzel Smart, who's with the Rams, and things like that. You missed it. You didn't get any pressure on the quarterback this year. You saw some nice play at linebacker. Perry Nickerson's gone. Donnie Lewis is going to have to step up next year and be that guy. But, man, I'd love to tell you some names right now who's going to step up. You don't. I mean, you're losing a lot of seniors, a lot of leadership, a lot of playmakers, a lot of guys that are on an award watch list. And on that O-line, look, I thought Jonathan Banks did an unbelievable job this year. You don't win the games you do this year without him. I mean, you don't. I mean, there were some games where he led game-winning drives. But my goodness, Hut, pressure. I mean, from the snap, pressure. So you have got to build that line, and you have got to be able to find some defensive playmakers, because Garland, it's not one of the most respected, but, they've been trying to push the P6. Man, they got some teams in there that can score. You looked at the championship game this year. One team was undefeated. The other team was 11-1. So if you're Tulane, you basically saw we have to either go undefeated or lose a game. That's how far the gap is. And again, you compete with those schools that have their public schools. They can allow a lot more players in that Tulane can. So you're already behind the 8 ball. And watching that conference game this year, man, I was like, oh, if you're Tulane.
All I can say is thank goodness Scott Frost is gone. He went to Nebraska.
There you go.
And you know what? Right behind him will be Mike Norvell at Memphis. That is one of the biggest things about Willie Fritz and Tulane. I think Willie, this might be his last stop. And I think he's going to build something to Tulane. A lot of these other teams in the American have young coaches that are going to be gone quickly. Mike Norvell is going to be gone probably next year. He'll move on. UCF Scott Frost. 2 years before that, they were 0 for 12.
Right.
And they might just go right back after Scott Frost has left there. So I think the positives outweigh the negatives with Willie Fritz. I really think that they're going to turn this around. They're 4-8, 5-7. They're getting a little closer to getting there. I saw the first month of their regular season next season when they're playing Ohio State. Goodness, they got some tough games.
But and that's the thing. I mean,
I like that though.
Look, being in Norman, Oklahoma, one of the things that I remember seeing was they went toe to toe. They led. That was a legit early lead, right?
Right.
7-0. Then they came back 7-7. They answered 14-7. And and again, it's just when you're Tulane, you can't do certain things. They were going in to make it 21-14, and they throw a pick, and it turns into a touchdown. And they held them to a field goal. But what I saw there was, there was some hope. And you need games like that. I talked to Willie Fritz on Tuesday after that game, and he said, we need games like this for those guys to do it, because I think, Eric, and I predicted, when you go in front, here comes Boomer soon, here comes the wagon, there's guns, and there's a flyover. Baker Mayfield's the Heisman winner. I mean, it doesn't get much bigger than that. It's Oklahoma, right? It's the Sooners. And they didn't flinch. They were nervous. The players. So when you play at home against Houston or you're at South Florida, big deal.
Right.
You need those games. I've always said this. if you're Tulane, take check games. Take them.
Yeah.
A, you need the money to build facilities. 2, it's going to give you experience to do it. You're not going to a bowl based on whether or not you play 1 or 2 teams that are better than you ranked out of conference. You got to win some conference games.
Yes.
Bottom line, you'll win your 1 or 2 games before that first bye, and you have to win 3 or 4 conference games. The other game or 2 on that slate, that's a check game. You absolutely need it. It helps build confidence. I mean, those guys that were young players that went to Oklahoma, you're never going to have a bigger crowd than that. And they were running the football right up the middle against a team that's playing for the College Football National Championship in the playoff.
Wow. Guys, let's shift gears to LSU, 9-3, finished 6-2 in the SEC. Let me ask this question to you, Garland. They lost one of their top recruiters today, Austin Thomas, GM, top recruiter, native of Tennessee, was offered more money to stay at LSU, ranked number 2 recruiter in the SEC last year. Coach O's been known for recruiting. They've got some pretty good recruiters. Is that a loss in your mind?
Yeah, it's a loss, but they still have Mickey Joseph in the New Orleans area. He's been pounding the pavement on both sides of the city, East Bank and West Bank there. Went to talk to Devontae Jason, wide receiver at Landry Walker. He's deciding next Wednesday. LSU needs 5 or 6 wide receivers in this class. Right now they have 2. Next week, Terrace Marshall out of Parkway is going to sign. Early signing days next week. Terrace Marshall at Parkway is the one they want. They want Devontae Jason at Landry Walker, and they want Jamar Chase at Rummel. They can nail all 3 of those guys. They're going to be set. Miles Brennan's going to have some good weapons next season because they're losing a lot at receiver and they're losing a ton at running back because next year you have Clyde Edwards-Helaire is one of your running backs. And Leonard Fournette, Nick Brissett. I mean, Nick Brissett really hasn't done anything. They took him after the Troy fumble, and he hadn't been the same since. So there's a lot of holes on offense. Offensive line to be very intriguing. There's 3 guys on the line that are asking the NFL for draft grades. If they can keep Will Clapp, they can keep Weathersby, and they can keep KJ Malone.
Right.
Whew, that line is going to be Miles Brennan's going to be loving life. If all 3 of those guys get unsatisfactory kickbacks from the draft, they're going to find out in the next week or so from the draft advisory board. And if all 3 of those guys stay, that is going to be huge for that offense.
Well, yeah. When you look at that right now, I'll say anybody that's on that offensive line needs to stay another year. I mean, I don't know.
Will Clapp is up for one of the top centers in America. I think it's the Remington Award for the top center in America. He's in the top 3. So, but if he stays another year, he can get in the first round.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
My thing is, it's funny because you see Coach O tweet, hold that tiger when he gets a recruit. So I think some of his biggest job is going to be internally. Keep some of these guys. I think one of the things that hurt LSU, because there was a period there, guys, where it was them and Bama. It was them and Bama in the SEC West, and you always knew that game was going to do it. They're not there. I think LSU has to fight again to be the second best team in the SEC West first. Then go beat Alabama, and then you can claim you can be the best. We've talked about this before. That's what you've got to do. I think finishing 9-3, I've had you on the show, and we talked about it, and it was like, hey, that would be a fantastic thing to do. Right? I mean, the only conference game you lost was Alabama after Mississippi State. Bravo, right? Now, how do you build on that? And I think one of the reasons Les Miles and the Tigers started trending down after they were so competitive was the flight of players that left. Not only because in the past, players would leave LSU for 1st or 2nd round picks. People were leaving to be 5th and 6th round picks. Right. People were leaving to be undrafted free agents.
And then the late defections.
Exactly right. And so that was alarming to me. When I can't keep 4th, 5th, 6th round players, something's wrong. Why? Because clearly if I come back, I might be able to improve my stuff. They went out. And I think not coincidentally, you saw Les Miles' departure. I think I get it. I know you want to go get the money and want to go do these things. I think for LSU to continue to improvement, because it's fine and dandy to go get a lot of these high school kids and stuff. You need snaps. And you need, if you're going to beat Auburn, you're going to beat Alabama and do those things consistently, I think you need guys that have been there before. They need that desperately at quarterback. I saw a stat, at the end of the year, was the last time you had a 3-year quarterback at LSU or a legit 2-year? I mean, you need stability. And what you said is true. You can get those guys back at the line, man, that's huge because it starts at that O-line.
Right.
Oh, I was going to also point out that Ogeron is not even messing with Miles Brennan in the bowl game. Ogeron wants that win.
Right.
He wants a double-digit win on his resume. He's dying for it. And he said in his early presser this week that they're going to win it, so don't expect Miles Brennan unless it's garbage time. And I don't think they're going to be beating up on Notre Dame, but it's going to be Danny Etling the whole game, which I still find bizarre because, man, the opener next year is at Jerry World against Miami. Yeah. Miles Brennan is not going to be ready mentally for that game. Yeah. He's not getting the reps. It's just...
No, it didn't make sense the whole season. It really did, especially when you played him against Bama and you played him earlier, then you haven't played him really since.
I thought you should have finished the season with him after Alabama.
Or at the very least, come in and play some, right?
Well, here's the thing. You have 3 games, right? Have him in the second half at least. But my thing is, start him. Start him the final 3 games because he needs full week of preparation, go through that process to where you're talking about the Miami game and then this bowl game. You're looking at game 5 now. I mean,
that's a beast.
It's just that would help. And, again, you're kind of throwing the kid to the wolves, man, because they're going to be highly ranked, the Hurricanes.
Oh, yes.
And
it's going to be rough. Guys, I got about a minute for each one of you. Matt Canada returns or heads elsewhere. And can Ogeron and Canada coexist if he does stay?
I think Canada stays. I just don't think there's another program that wants him yet. This wasn't an impressive season for him. He needs more time in this offense. He needs to get a quarterback that's legit, first off. Danny Etling is just middle-of-the-road quarterback. I think he stays. All the jobs are drying up right now. The only one left is ULL. Is that one of the only ones? USA, I think, South Al. So I think he stays. If he gets that offense red hot next year, then he'll probably go.
You saw towards the end of the season what he's capable of. But I think you saw dabs of what hurt Les Miles. Coach O, are you going to let him coach or not? And are you going to let him do those offenses and you let him do those game plans? But again, it goes to your point. Everything that I've heard too is, well, he wanted Miles and to do it. And O's like, Etling's my guy. So if you're already starting that way, I think, but you're talking about recruiting. If I'm a receiver, I need to know who the offensive coordinator is. I need to know who's calling the plays. I need to know who the quarterback
Especially with this early recruiting, early signing date now.
Yeah, all they picked up right now is offensive linemen. They got a ton of them from JUCO that can probably start right away. But right now they only have 2 wide receivers, and they got 3 on the top of my head right now. They need all 3 of those guys. And I got to believe that Canada's going to be there. I really thought they'd play Miles Brennan more to show the receivers next year, this is your quarterback.
Exactly.
Right now they have no idea what Miles Brennan is about. They don't know.
LSU Notre Dame got about 30 seconds.
Notre Dame.
Oh, come on, man. Really?
Notre Dame.
I think LSU wins. It's going to be close, but I think the Tigers got this, even though I don't think Arden Key's going to play in that game.
Guys, as always, man, thanks so much for being with us. Garland, Gillen of Fox 8 Sports, also Gus Kattengell of ESPN 100.3 FM here in New Orleans. Thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, there's a rebroadcast of this program each and every Friday night right here on WLAE at 10 p.m. 9 o'clock statewide, Pelican Sports Broadcasting. It's Friday night at 9. Also, catch me on the radio, 990 AM WGSO, weekdays 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. You can listen live down the podcast at ericasher.com. The TuneIn Radio app, a great way to take the show with you anywhere. And also, all the previous episodes of Inside New Orleans Sports can be seen at ericasher.com as well. Great job tonight by our friends Gus Kattengell and also Garland Gillen. Want to also thank the WLAE production staff, Ron Yeager, Jim Dotson, Kenny Juneau, and my director, William Hill. Have a great week. We'll see you right back here next week for another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. Thanks for watching.
Inside New Orleans Sports with Eric Asher is underwritten by...
Located on Lake Pontchartrain, Brisbee's Lakefront Restaurant and Bar offers traditional West End favorites, a scenic view, oysters, and numerous tasty options. More information is available at 504-304-4125 or brisbeesrestaurant.com.